Hey mamas, this is Playfully Faithful Parenting, and I'm your host, Joy Wendling. I'm a seminary grad and children's and family minister turned stay-at-home mom to my 5 girls. Spiritual parenting is my calling, and it's my passion to help other mamas disciple their kids using the power of play and their own authentic daily walk with Christ. If you're a mama who wants to introduce your kids to Jesus and watch as the Holy Spirit transforms their lives, this is the place for you. I'm so glad you're here. So let's dive in and see how we can partner with God today. Hello and welcome to Playfully Faithful Parenting. I am your host, Joy, and I'm so excited to be back. I took a little break for some health concerns, but things are on the mend. Not perfect yet, but we're getting better. So, thank you for your patience and thank you for tuning in again. I am so happy to be back on the podcast and am going to do my best to be here again weekly. So, let's talk today about managing our kids' behavior. Oh my, it is so exhausting when that is what we as parents aim to do. When all our goal is to manage their behavior, we lose out on some of the beauty of parenting. We're not going to enjoy parenting as much. We're not going to be as connected to our kids. So we're losing out on relationship and we are missing our child's heart when we do that, when all we focus on is managing behavior. So as parents, we have so many choices, right? It can be exhausting managing all these choices and decisions that we have to make. Sometimes we make our decisions in parenting intentionally, and sometimes when we are triggered, we are just trying to survive the moment or the day. Just make it to bedtime. And this leads us to only looking at and paying attention and working towards short-term parenting goals. And so when we can shift our focus from these short-term parenting goals, which there will be times when that is all we can do, and that's okay. But if I like to live into this 80-20%, like 80%, 20% rule, right? So if 80% of the time we can be focused on our long-term goals for parenting, we are going to be able to shift away from managing behavior and from just surviving each day. Because managing our children's behavior doesn't change their hearts. And as Christian mamas, our goal is to help our children to be Christ followers, and Christ and God is after their heart, not just their behaviors. Okay. And so as a reminder, I am a Connected Families certified parent coach. And so a lot of the content today, some of the big picture things from today are from my training as a Connected Families certified parent coach. And in a few weeks on July 16th, I am going to be doing an online 2-hour Connected Families workshop, all Connected Families material, working through the framework of how to move beyond this just managing behavior to mentoring beliefs in our kids, identity work. And so we're going to talk about that for 2 hours. And it is an interactive workshop. So I invite you to come. The link to that is createdtoplay.com/DTC workshop. D as in discipline, T, that, C, connects, workshop. And the link will also be in the show notes or the description below. So I want to invite you to come to sign up for that. There is a small, less than $10 fee, but if that cost is prohibitive of you, then please reach out to me, joy@createdtoplay.com, and let's talk about a scholarship for you so you can come. But so I just wanted to say that some of this material today is connected families, and I've learned it from them, and I will be sharing more on that in a few weeks. So I am excited about that. So let's get back to this idea of managing our kids' behaviors, right? So when we do that, it is short-term focus, and it can help us get through the moments, through the days, but it is not helping us to disciple and to discipline and teach our kids that we want in 10 years, right? That is getting us through the moment, but it's not helping us to parent the children that we want to be parenting in 10 years. That needs long-term focus. That is long-term goals that we need to start thinking about today. So I want to invite you to think about your child, no matter their age. Think about them in high school, in a year, if they're already in high school, when they're about to go to college, when they're 25. And tell me, think about it, tell yourself, write it down, talk to God. What kind of kid do you want then? And think about all the implications. So if you were to say today, I want a kid who is immediately obedient. Okay? Think about that kid when a friend invites them to go to a party that there's going to be drinking at. Think about that for your daughter when a boy is pressuring her to move further in their relationship than she wants to go. If we only want obedient children who can't think for themselves, who don't have the identity built up to know when to obey and when not to obey, then is that really the long-term goal that you want to focus on today? Right? Or even teachers, if you want them to respect all authority immediately. There are teachers that they may not agree with theologically or morally. And do you want them to be able to question their teacher in a respectful, kind way? Right? So these are things that we need to fully think about. What are those long-term goals and how are we going to get there? So in Connected Families, they talk about not just managing behaviors, but mentoring beliefs. When we can move away from managing behaviors and mentoring our children's beliefs instead, that is when we connect with their heart and change their heart and help set an environment, help create a space for your child's heart to change. Because we don't do that heart work. We just get to be a part of it. And the Holy Spirit does it. And your child together with the Holy Spirit. But we get to be a part of that when we begin mentoring beliefs, when we begin helping form their identity. So what does this look like? So one of my girls, a couple months ago, was having a hard time falling asleep. And she asked me to make up a story for her, which I often do at night when she can't sleep. So I made up this story and I told her about this princess who had lots of sisters because, right, I have 5 girls. So this daughter has lots of sisters. And in the story, the sister, the princess, was having a hard day and was really struggling to be kind and struggling with her emotions. And because she wasn't being kind, none of her sisters wanted to play with her. And that made her feel sad, on top of already having these other big emotions. And in the story, the princess went to her mommy and yelled at the mommy, "No one will play with me." And the mommy was empathetic and comforted her and asked if she was having a hard time handling some big feelings. The princess took a breath and said yes. And now she was sad too. The mommy asked her what kind of sister she likes to play with. She asked, "Do you like to play when your sisters are being unkind and mean and yelling at you?" And the princess answered, "No. I like to play with my sisters when they're being kind." And then the mommy asked what kind of sister she was being. And she took a breath. And in the story, the princess sister said, "I was being a mean one." Then the mommy asked one final question and she said, "What kind of sister do you want to be?" And the princess said, "A kind one." My own little girl said, "That's me." And I asked, "Well, what kind of sister do you want to be?" "A kind one," she answered. And many times since then, when my daughter is having a hard time with big feelings, I have asked her, "Hey, what kind of sister do you want to be?" And sometimes, one time she said, "A rude one," because she just hadn't had a second to breathe yet. And then I took a few deep breaths with her, and then I asked her again. But every other time when I've asked her this question, she will sometimes take a breath first, and sometimes just kind of begrudgingly say, "I want to be a kind one." And it may take her a few minutes to regulate after that and to make things right. But it continues to flip this little switch in her, reminding her of who she wants to be, of who she is, a kind sister. And in those moments, I don't necessarily hold her to this harsh place of, tell me all the things you've done wrong and all these different ways you've been unkind, because I know that the Holy Spirit is working in her in those moments. He's convicting her. He's helping her see that her actions are not who she is. And in those moments, she might need some help making things right. And we'll talk about, what does a kind sister do? And she'll share, but it has really helped turn things around. And it's not me telling her who she is. It is me asking her and her telling me who she wants to be based on her relationship with Jesus. She knows that she wants to be kind, just like I know I want to be a patient mom. I'm not always that way, but I'm working towards it because I know who I want to be is a more patient mom. And she knows who she wants to be is a kind sister. And so in those moments, I focus on her belief in herself and her identity and not the behavior. And I let her manage her own behavior by mentoring her beliefs. So I hope that has been a helpful idea to you. I think it's the way God treats us as well. He seems to spend more time in the New Testament, especially telling us who we are and not nitpicking at how we need to act all the time. And I've not gone through verse by verse to count, but I think identity is important. And I think God thinks identity is important. And he has said that he's not after, and this is Old Testament even, he is not after our sacrifices. He is after our hearts. So let us as parents parent our children in that same way that God does, and not be after sacrifices and punishments, but after our children's hearts. And we're going to learn more about that again at this workshop. It's a 2-hour-long discipline that connects with your child's heart workshop, presenting the Connected Families framework. And this framework completely changed my parenting, my faith, my life. God used it in big ways and in so many tens of thousands of other parents as well around the world. So I hope you will join me. Again, the link is in the show notes or the description below. Join me for that workshop. And I'm so glad to be back on the podcast. Thanks so much. Have a great week. Bye, guys. Well, mamas, that's it for today. Thanks for joining me on Playfully Faithful Parenting. I'd love to keep the conversation going over on the socials. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. If you felt encouraged or equipped by today's show, do me a favor and leave a review. I can't wait to hear your story. Till next week, keep playing and pointing those littles to Christ.